Hey everybody, and welcome to this video where I'm going to be showing you how to set up a backend with Directus and Noodle. So first of all, just to mention, this backend setup was made possible by Shrey from the Savvy Tech, which is a Noodle development agency. And I would strongly recommend you go and check out the website, thesavvy.tech, because not only has Shrey made this Directus Prefab available for free and open source, but he also has a boilerplate starter template, which is really good. You should check it out. It has loads of features that will help you get your app started quickly, and it's completely integrated with Directus and the Directus Prefab. So it's a way, if you want to start with Directus, to get started very quickly, but also get started with visual elements and logic elements, and even some examples of cloud functions, because Directus has a flow cloud function builder, no code builder, that you can use to build server-side functions as well. So yeah, why Directus? Because it's a good backend for certain use cases. If you want to go and research the website, directus.io, check it out or look at the docs. But why I like Directus for certain projects is because it provides a very user-friendly UI for the database for the backend. So not only you as a developer, but anybody like your clients, for example, could have their own access to it, and maybe they would have a way to go and visualize data. It has a really nice data visualization system that you might see a little bit later on, to be able to make views out of your data. It can be connected to SQL backends like Postgres, and it has those cloud functions I mentioned earlier. It also has file storage. It has a really good permission system, role system. So it is a very solid backend. It's on version 10 or 11 now, so it's well trodden in terms of the history. It's still going. It has a very vibrant community. The Discord is full of people talking about their Discord setups, their Directus setups. So yeah, definitely a backend worth considering, since it's open source and self-hostable. Obviously, that's great, and very no-code, low-code friendly. So what I'm going to do today is set up the backend in Docker. I'm going to set it up with a local Docker implementation with a Docker Compose file that you could use, and I've used this same file in cloud deployments. So I deployed this one on Azure, for example. If you guys were working on AWS or Google Cloud Platform, you could find a way to deploy it on there with their Docker services. But let's just start with a local Docker to be able to see how that works with Noodle, so that you can play with it a bit on your local system without having to go through all of the cloud stuff and pay. It can be quite challenging. So we're going to be using this Docker file today, set up the backend. Then I'm going to try to show how the prefab is set up in Noodle for Directus from Shrey, and how that connects to the database, how we do queries, how we write data. I'm going to try to do a cat meme sharing app where I'm going to be sharing some famous cat memes to show how that would work in terms of writing a title for the meme and uploading an image. So taking an image locally and then uploading it to Directus, and then seeing how that works on the Directus side in terms of the file storage system and how the data looks and how you can visualize the data. So let's jump in. Using the standard Directus Docker Compose file, which is their way of getting it started up very quickly. They're using SQLite, which is a great way to get started fast without having to worry about any kind of any particular settings for databases in the YAML file, but just so that you're ready to set it up on your own server with your own database. You're likely not going to be using SQLite. You will probably be using something like Postgres or MySQL. So this would be my setup for an SQL database that you can just replace these bits, the host and the port and everything. You'd replace that with your cloud version of Postgres, your cloud instance of Postgres. And at the moment, I'm not replacing keys and secrets and stuff, but obviously in a deployed app, you would have a very strong key and secret for your Directus instance, and you would change all the passwords and everything. And you would also add in your so the public URL where the Directus is actually going to be hosted, and the core's origin is where are the requests for this database going to come from. So put in every URL that would, if you ever deploy to myapp.com on Vercel or something like that, then put a comma in here and do myapp.com. Add that into the core's origin. That's really important to tell Directus this is where I'm allowing requests to come from. It's really important for the whole cookie system that will let Directus deliver a session cookie to the front end so that the user, when they log in, we can actually store the login details in a cookie and it'll be automatically retrieved and validated by Directus on the next page load so that we know that this user was already logged in and that their token is still valid. So these additions are very, very important to make Directus, at least it was for my project, to make Directus work properly. So let's try to fire it up and see what happens. It might not work. I've just done it. I haven't tested it yet. So we'll do, where are we? We're going to do docker compose .yaml in our documents. Well, we'll make a new folder maybe. So let's do Directus test. Save it in there. And now we're going to go open that folder and open a terminal at the folder. Or so you're opening your terminal or you're opening your PowerShell and navigating to that folder. And then we're going to do docker compose up and see what happens. So it's going to pull in Postgres, it's going to pull in Directus. This might take a while because my internet connection sucks. So in the meantime, we can talk about how to start up our Noodle project while we're waiting for that to finish. So how we get the Noodle project started, we go to the SavvyTech docs, where you get all of the information about how to install and configure your Directus prefab, which is great, super useful. We're going to go to installation and we're going to go to import the prefab. There's also something there about, setting up Directus in Noodle. So, this is a good tutorial, but I would recommend going and reading the docs as well. So let's go to the GitHub address. I'm not going to clone it in the terminal. I'm just going to download it because I'm lazy like that. So we're going to download the latest code. It's good to check whether Shrey's made any updates as well, because he does post new updates to the code from time to time to fix bugs, stuff like that. Let's download the code anyway. So I'm saying if you're starting a new project, maybe don't use a downloaded code that you've had for a while, like maybe download the latest one for your next project when you're starting a new project, and don't just use always the same one. So that's done. And so we have our Directus prefab for Noodle. I'm going to move that into that Directus folder in our documents there. Where'd it go? Yeah, there. Okay, up. Okay, and then we're going to open it, but we're not going to open it. It's confusing, but the way that it works is it's a very large, it's a vast collection of different elements for the prefab. So the way that Shrey set it up, the easiest way without it having to be in the kind of module or prefab library from Noodle, which is kind of complicated to get stuff into at the moment. Maybe in the future it will be easier, but at the moment I don't know how to do it, and nor does Shrey. So we will open folder, we will look for that one we just created with the prefab, open it up. Now we're not going to touch it, we're going to immediately exit, because this is just the source of the import that we're going to do in our project. So now you've got Directus prefab reference, which I already have, by the way. Here's one I made earlier. And we're going to start a new project. So now we're going to start the cat meme project. And we're going to put it in the same folder. Where's my project folder? Alrighty, so now we have a blank project in Noodle with nothing. What we're going to do is go to the node picker and import from project, go to the Directus prefab reference, import, select the Directus top level folder with the Directus, the Directus top level with the sheet with the prefab in it. Don't need anything else. Import. So now we have the Directus sheet where we have all of the Directus prefab components and setup. So the setup is really important. This is the first thing you should do. We have to choose at the app level whether we're going to use the environment variables option or the manual option. We can have a look in there and see what that says. Oh no, hang on. There's a auth, where was it? The main setup bit, where does it go? Initial setup. Oh yeah, we have to go, hang on. If you want more information, the best place to get it from is directly in the prefab. You'll see at the app level in the prefab, it gives you these different examples of how to do it. So either using a file in your project folder called env.json, which it doesn't really, I don't know how much it really changes things. It just means your project is a bit more of a standard setup rather than having it directly written into the project code. It doesn't hide the environment variables or anything like that. It just is maybe more of a standard way to set up a project with environment variables in your project folder. So let's do the environment variables way. So we're going to go catmean projects. We're going to go to the app level, and we're going to drop the environment variables option and say that when the app is loaded, mounted, we're going to do that option. This is creating the connection, getting this software development kit from Directus and creating the connection to our app. So we need to have that env.json file in our folder, and we can get that. An example of that can be found in, again, the Directus prefab reference. So we'll open up our project folder, and in here there's an env.json example. Let's have a look and see what that looks like. So we have URL and static token. Let's just copy that over. Or actually, let's just copy the whole file. Oops, no, I'm not going to close that. Let's copy this whole file from the project folder. env.json.example, and we're going to put that in our catmean project folder. You can put it directly in the main root of the folder. It's not a big deal. Remove the example so it becomes a real JSON file. Open that up with whatever text editor you prefer. I prefer BBEdit. And now we'll have to update this with the Directus project URL and static website token. So the Directus project URL is going to be localhost 8055, I think. I might be wrong, because we have Docker should be running Directus on port 8055. And the static token, we need to get that. So we don't have that yet. That's what we're going to get in our Directus backend. So hopefully that's finished. It is. Look at that. It's online. It's running at localhost 0000 is localhost, port 8055. So we're right about that. It's all good. That means that if we go localhost 8055, ta-da, and you can see it all beavering away in there telling you the output. We have our sign in. So let's go back to our YAML file so we can see what the sign in is going to be for the admin user. It is my email and password. Remember, there's no danger here because it's running on localhost. Nobody can get in and do anything with it. It's all good. If you have any errors, the place to look at those errors is here. So if something goes wrong, if it says, oh, can't connect, problem, whatever, then this is the output of your Docker. The standard output of your Docker is going to tell you what the error is, or going into your Docker desktop if you have Docker desktop, and going into your Directus thing, and then you get the same output here, so you can go and have a look through historically, was everything installed right, was there any problems, etc. So you can see it's actually running pretty light. Surprisingly, it's we're running at 170 megs of RAM usage and very, very little CPU usage. Now, of course, this is just a blank Directus with nothing in it, but if we're running Postgres and Directus on the same container, it's only 150 megs, so it's lightweight. It's really not heavy. It seems heavy when you look at it, and then actually it's not heavy. So welcome to Directus. Now, the first thing we're going to do before we set up anything is we're going to go and have a look at the users. Right? Directus has collections, which is basically tables, where you can set up our cat memes, for example. We're going to set up a cat meme table, but it also has default tables. If you want to go and have a look at what is contained within the innards of Directus, go into data model and have a look at system collections. And you'll see essentially what Directus is doing is it's sitting over Postgres and saying, hey, Postgres, I'm going to add a whole bunch of tables to you called Directus Access, Directus Activity, Directus Users, for example. And I'm going to use my model on top of inside Postgres to work, for example, authentication, roles and things like that, checking who's got what role and all that. So it's a layer on top of Postgres where Postgres can actually do these things itself. It actually has its own plugins and native features where it can handle authentication and OAuth and all that kind of stuff. But Directus puts its own layer over the top of it and says, no, don't forget the Postgres stuff, but I'm going to use the Postgres stuff in my own way. And I'm going to let my users use Directus rather than directly Postgres for things like authentication and roles and permissions. It doesn't mean that you're, kind of ignoring all the great features of Postgres. It's just that you have, instead of setting up all this crap yourself, Directus is doing it for you, and you don't have to worry about OAuth authentication, how does it work or whatever. So we do have a user directory. We have an admin user, and the admin user, if we go into the admin user, should have a token generation part at the very bottom. So the token is this admin user can, with that token, basically do anything in the whole app. Now, we don't want to use this for our front end. We don't want to give, because whatever we put in env.json in our project is going to be visible to the world. So what we want is a token that can access the minimum amount of stuff that we wouldn't care if somebody had stole the token and used it as an API call, that it doesn't matter and it's not going to affect anybody. So let's create a new user called API user, or like SDK. Let's call it SDK user. No email, no password, don't care. Oh, do we need an email? I can't remember. No, we don't. Just first name and last name. We don't even need an email, because this is not going to be a real logged in user. This is just going to be a user to get a token. So we are going to generate a token for this person. We're going to take that token. We're going to put it into our env.json file, token of the website API user. Save that into our project folder. Now we need to give this person, we're going to create them first before we start messing around with policies, but we're going to give them policies or roles. So let's go back into SDK user. It's now created with that token, which you won't see again. You have to save the token because it's saved and hashed. Otherwise, just refresh the token. If you forgot to save it, just refresh it and save the new token, save that user, and that'll work out. Let's create a new policy. It's going to be called SDK access, and it's going to have access to the collection. Remind me what it is again. Come on. No, not here. Put the prefab. No, can't remember. Okay, we're gonna figure that out. We're going to need to have access to I don't know, let's try Directus access, read, and users read, so we can read the users table. I don't know if that's a good idea because we might be able to read all of the users, so that might be a bad idea. But users create for sure, because we need that SDK, we need that API connection to be able to create a new user. So it might not actually be read, it might just be create. I'll see. I'll have a think about that. App access we do not want yet. Admin access definitely not. And so we're going to save that. And now he has a policy SDK access. So that should, in theory, if I remember right, this is the part that always confused the heck out of me. So I'm really sorry that this seems like I'm muddling through it. I am muddling through it because it took me a while to get this set up in the original project. And you're following along with me and my muddling today. So yeah, it's failing at the moment. It's not running the function, so it's not installed the SDK. And why not? And let's see. So we're not going to do it on page load. That's maybe a bad idea. If the page mounter route did mount, it's going to do the same thing. Yeah, it's doing the same thing. All right, let's just use a switch just to test it. So when I switch it, it will do it. Let's switch it on and then have a look and see if we have any errors. We don't. So it seems like that's not. Oh, it's still running and failing. Okay, good. Great. Tell you what we do. Let's test it with an admin key, and then we'll go back and try to figure out what values we need for the other key that we were using. So let's just do that for now. We've got an admin key. That means that it'll have access to everything, which obviously is not good for the future project setup, but just to see how it would work, this would be a good way to get started. So let's reset that to page load. And then we're going to change that JSON file again. And add this key instead. And that's the right URL, so it should be okay. No, still failing. So why is that not working? Oh, jeez. Is the SDK installed and ready to use in big capital letters? Muppet. So no, it is not, because we have not added the head code that I totally forgot about. Oops. So yeah, let's go back to this and this and this. Ta-da! Easy peasy. So we just need to take the head code from the reference project and put that into our cat meme project. That's going to help a little bit. So there we go. And that's all working and not failing. And we've got success on Directus initialized site client should be successful. There's the Directus URL from our JSON. There's the static token that we have, which is obviously not safe, but we'll work that out later. And that is all true. Well, we've got either the site client is initialized or user client. So the site client is the API is going to give access. That API that we used in our env.json is going to give access to your app to do certain things in Directus. That's the site client. So the site client should have very limited access. The user client is the user has logged in, and now we're using the user token to make API calls. We're not using the site token to make API calls. So the user's token is going to be granular permissions to that particular user. So he'll be able to access, or she'll be able to access 3 cat memes, and I'll be able to access 3 other cat memes because they're written to us as our property, or we have permissions on them in the Directus database. So that's all good. That is in theory all good. Now what we need to do is set up a page. So we'll go to our start page, and we're going to have a group and a text and an input. Oops. And the text input and a file picker. And there was also a thing in the Directus prefab for file uploading, I think. Files. Create, import file, upload file. There we go. So we're going to upload a file with the file picker, and we're going to have a group here that shows a text that says, please input your cat meme title, and then click the button to upload cat meme. The label is going to be, please input a cat meme title. And this is going to be the head of the group, which is cat meme uploader. And we're going to make it fixed width of 50%, why not? And centered and with content height and I don't know, like 40 by 40. Padding. I'm the worst designer in the world, but I do my best. Vertical gap of 20. With a border and some corners, and make the border purple because why not? And then we're gonna make the title bigger. And voila, there's our cat meme uploader. Please input a cat meme title. So we're good to go. Now we need it that when we are clicking on upload cat meme, it's going to open the file picker. The file picker is going to upload a file. When it's successful, the file object is going to be this, maybe? We'll see. And then we're going to use the site SDK client for the moment. So why am I using the site SDK client? Because we're just testing it with no login. That means that there is no user SDK client. I don't have a token for my user. I'm not logged in. I could be logged in, and we'll maybe look at that later, but I'm not. So I'm just going to show you with the site SDK client, which you should not do, because it would mean that anybody who comes in would, well, I mean, sorry, you should not do. This is not the way that your app would function for users. If you had logged in users, they should always be using the user SDK because it's going to make sure that they can only do what they are allowed to do, and they're not going to be able to use the site SDK. Also, the site SDK, like I said earlier, will be limited when I figure out how to do it to only certain things like creating users, reading maybe certain users, or like just certain fields of certain users, like their email, for example, nothing else. And so that wouldn't be applicable to uploading a cat meme, which will require permissions to create a record in the cat meme collection that the site SDK doesn't actually have access to. We're only giving it access to things that are required when the user is logged out. So that we're just using this for testing, is what I'm trying to say. So once that file is uploaded, then we are going to create something. Create data. So we're going to have another button, I guess, which is going to be oops. It's going to be save cat meme. Okay, so that's going to do the create data part, and the create data part we'll have to have a look at how that works afterwards. So we're going to do and yeah. Now we have our collection name, which is going to be in here. So we have to get this set up properly for to be able to receive our wonderful cat memes. So cat meme. Cat collections are case sensitive. Be careful. So decide if you're doing camel case or whatever. It's not a single object. It's going to be a collection of objects. The primary field key is going to be ID. You can change it if you want. You can call it object ID. And the type, I would recommend setting it to generated UUID, because auto increment integer is just going to set 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as the IDs, which is not very safe. Let's say somebody could just guess, oh, I'm just going to type in cat meme /1, and then I'll get that result. If it's a UUID, it's going to be much more difficult to get figured out. And you can't change this once you've created the collection. So set this at the beginning. Don't make mistakes. Optional fields, we can add, this is really handy, we can add the user who created it, the date it was created, the date it was updated, the user who updated it. I don't really need sorting, but you might want sorting for if you're doing, I don't know, like rentals or something, and you want to sort by availability date, then there would be an automatic sorting field that would let you choose what you want to sort by. And status is a standard field if you want to use that for like in progress, done, if you're doing Kanbans or tasks or something like that, but we don't need that. So let's finish that setup, and then we're going to create 2 fields in this collection. They're going to be, and this is really one of the coolest things about Directus is that they have 1 million different field types. Why? Because it's not just about is it a string, is it a boolean, is it whatever. It's about when the user goes into Directus and logs into Directus, not your app. And this is what I was saying. This is, for me, Directus is really useful in the specific use case that you have maybe a front end where users interact and create data or manage their data, but there's a back end where they can also access when they want to visualize or edit their data. So I can create a WYSIWYG field where when I create that field, the user is not only going to be stored as a string, it's just the data will just be stored as a string, like who cares? But it's that Directus marks it as a WYSIWYG field. So when I log into Directus, I get a WYSIWYG editor, so I can change the style of the text, make it different colors and whatever directly inside Directus, which is really cool. I think it's really cool. It's kind of taking what you would create as a developer as ways to manipulate and manage what kind of data would be inputted into a field. Like I'll take the example of LearnBook, my app LearnBook. I have a string field called message text, and message text in the front end, the only way a user can see the string or manipulate the string is using a WYSIWYG editor called TinyMCE. And that means that the user in the front end is limited in how they interact with the data, right? And when I get the data through this HTML string, I show it as a HTML block, or I show the HTML inside the TinyMCE editor so they can edit it. Directus flips that on its head a bit and says, well, why don't we, instead of saying, you know, in the front end, I'm limiting what you see. If you went into the back end, you would see in the database that it's just like a bunch of HTML and hard to understand. I'm going to show it in the back end as well as a WYSIWYG editor. So no matter where the user goes, whether it's in the front end WYSIWYG editor or logging directly into the back end, they're going to see the same display of the data. So it's a way for, it's basically saying, I'm not just making a back end in the sense that it's a secret behind a curtain thing that the user never sees. I'm actually planning on letting my users into the back end so they'll have access to a limited amount of data, only the tables they're allowed to see, only the data that they have permission to, but they'll have a way of interacting with that data that's very no-code user-friendly. They'll have an editor. They won't have to directly edit HTML. They'll have an editor. Anyway, so that's one really cool feature. The things that you're choosing here, it's just string and number fields, but it's allowing you to do specific things like what do you want to have in the toolbar of the WYSIWYG editor? Do you want to have undo and redo? What's the standard font going to be? So it's cool, right? Look at all the other options. You'll be like, oh, cool, a date picker. That's awesome. A map. So choosing a location on a map instead of just having a geospace field or whatever it is, geolocation field, you actually have a map to choose the location instead of just seeing the latitude and longitude. It's color pickers, checkboxes. The relational is really good as well because they have that standard many-to-many, one-to-many. But you get to kind of in a no-code way customize how that's going to operate and how it's going to work. And you get to see as well a tree of how different tables relate to each other in the data settings in the backend as well. But what we want is an input field because it's just a title. We're not going to give it a specific key. It's just going to have its own. Oh no, we need to give it a name. Sorry. So it's a meme title. It's a text field as opposed to big integer, floating point, whatever. Is it required? Do we have to have a meme title? Yes, we do, because if I don't want to have any memes that are untitled, that would be weird. And the placeholder is for when the user goes into Directus. It has no effect on what you're doing in the front end. Sending data through the API doesn't care what the placeholder is, doesn't have any impact on it at all. It only needs to know the key. The placeholder is when your user goes into Directus to create a cat meme directly. What do they see in the field? Do they see enter your cat meme title? And we're not even gonna like that. We can have an icon on the field as well, on the right or on the left side. So really it's about like setting up an environment where your users can manage and view their data. So now we're going to do a cat meme file. Oh, sorry. So it's not a selection. It's a file. It's relational to the file table. So there's a specific file table that you can have, or we could just use an image actually as well. But I think I might like to use file. Do I want to use image or file? It's going to do the same thing in the end, but maybe for safety, I'm going to use file. No, I'm going to use image. Change my mind. So it's going to be cat meme image. It's going to have a UUID. It's going to be required, and it's going to save files into the root, and we will let them crop the image. Yeah, so users are able to crop the image as well when they upload it. That's cool. So that's our cat meme table that's done. And you can see the path that is up here, cat meme. So even though it's displayed here in a kind of human readable way, this is what it's actually going to be in the API call that we're doing and the collection name that we're setting up. So that's ready to go. In theory, our admin user, but we can double check, is allowed to access that table. Policies, assigned to description, admin have all permissions. Yeah, so it's fine. We don't need to add the table. If you've added a new table and you have a policy already set up with certain permissions on certain tables, you're probably going to have to go in, like for the users, you're going to have to go in and add that cat meme table to the what they're allowed to access, read, write, and update, right? And that's in the access policies. So we have one policy at the moment that's not working, but that would be where you would have, like, you know, standard user or basic user, and then you would add that cat meme table as something that they're allowed to read, write, and update. Don't forget to do that, because you'll be scratching your head going, why is it not creating anything? Always check the policies first. As soon as you can't create something, check the policies first, then check to see if the SDK is properly loaded, if it's returning any errors in the console, which it is. But yeah, it's the debugging should be first policies, then everything else, because it's like where I made the most mistakes was setting the policies wrong or not having a user assigned to the right policy, for example, which was called roles, by the way, in old Directus, if you are an old Directus user. So once we upload the file, then we're going to create data. Okay, how are we going to do that? This is the challenging part. So bear with me. We're going to make an object so we can build the data. We're going to call the properties of the object the same as what we did in our data model. So cat meme has meme title and cat meme image. Oh, it's cat meme image is not consistent. Oh, it doesn't matter. I should have called it meme image, but whatever. So let's call it meme title, cat meme image. So those are the two objects we need to pass into our node as data. And the title is going to come from here. And the file, in theory, is going to come from here, but I don't know if that's going to work. So we're probably going to have to mess around with the title to get it in the right way that it'll be accepted by Directus. And I haven't done this before, so it's going to be an interesting challenge. But this is the create meme object. Whew, okay, let's try. So we're going to try meme1. We're going to download that image that we had before, my favorite cat meme. And woman yelling at cat. It just doesn't fully grasp the gravity of what was happening in this scene. It was a very intense scene. I don't know if you've seen it in The Real Housewives of LA or whatever it was, but yeah, it was intense. There wasn't really a cat, by the way. Yeah, that was it's just a meme. It's just a meme, guys. Don't take it seriously. All right, meme one. So it's okay. Lady screaming. Upload cat meme. Let's do it. Where is it? I did download it, didn't I? Where did I save it to? Oh, put it in documents. Okay, that's clearly very important to me. Important enough to be included in my documents. So it is launched. It is launched. I just put the yeah. Let's find out what happened. So its SDK client is good. It is running the function, and the error from the function or the result is nothing. So we have not triggered, probably because the raw file didn't go in. Is raw file object? So we had it going into file object. It is a file object, but maybe it's not a file object. Maybe it's a raw file. Let's try that. So that's file going in. There is a file in there. So, up. Ah, there we go. It was a raw file. Ooh, look at that. So it's put in local storage. It's given it a file name, a unique file name, a download name, the title there, woman yelling at a cat meme. It's an image. It's got everything we need. File size. It's beautiful. Beautiful. So that is now a file that in theory we have the ID for. And we need to extract that ID. So we don't just want to pipe the whole object into here, I don't think. I think we probably want to pipe in the ID directly. But let's try this and see what happens. So now we've got an object that's coming out in theory. Or we don't. Oh, we should. No, because we haven't created the object. There we go. So we need to give it an ID. No, it's maybe not what I wanted to do. Yeah, no, we don't want to just give it the ID. Sometimes the ID will actually reference the object in other nodes, but I think because this is a custom node, it's not gonna fly. So we need to do function, and we're going to do meme title and cat meme image, and then we're going to do outputs. We're going to do const create object, and we're going to give it a literal object of meme title. Meme title and cat meme image, cat meme image, and then we output that. Create object. So delete this for now, and let's put in, oh no, what am I doing? The title goes here, the file goes here, if that's the right way to do it. Create cat meme object, and then we output that object to the data. There we go, cat meme image. Okay, and the cat meme image has a full object. I'm pretty sure that's not going to work, but we'll see. So let's save cat meme, and we definitely have an error there. I'm sure we have an error here as well. Yeah, and on the back end, probably too. Okay, let's have a look. So we can probably say that cat meme doesn't have any items. Refresh it just in case. You can also put on auto refresh every 10 seconds. So it'll give you new data every 10 seconds. So we haven't created anything. It did not work. So why did it not work? Let's go and have a look. Invalid collection value provided. Well, that would be something necessary, wouldn't it? So cat meme, remember, that's the same way it is in the URL. It's a single item. We do not need a response because we're not querying anything. We do want to get all fields as it comes back. We'll see if that works because we want to be able to pull out the ID of the thing that we just created to maybe use that locally and work on that locally. And we're using the site SDK client because, like I said before, we haven't set up users or anything like that yet. So we're just testing with the all access site SDK client, which at the moment has admin access, which shouldn't have admin access, and you should set it up to not have admin access. So that went in and it went out, and that's good, and that's good. And we have no errors, and we have a result. We created an object. Oh, really? You were able to interpret that image? Are you joking? You are not joking. Oh, Directus, you are just the best. So there we go. So we have our cat lady screaming. We've created a record in our cat meme table. Now imagine we wanted to have a look at those cat memes. We can just throw up a quick repeater and do a query. So we'll go onto our start page, and we will get this a bit bigger and split it. And I want to see the bottom part there. Yes. So we're going to have a bit below here with the repeater. And the repeater is going to have a cat meme item, which is going to be a text and an image. That's going to be the meme title. Oops. Keep forgetting that you don't double click anymore. You have to press enter. Meme title. I'm using the latest open Noodle, so You have to hit enter to change the name. Meme image. And we're going to do an object because we don't have record nodes anymore. So we use object nodes, get it from the repeater, and it's going to be meme title and cat meme image. And that's going to go in here. And that's going to go in here. But I think we're going to have to extract the image from it for the source. We're not going to be able to pipe the image directly in, but let's see how it comes out first. And let's do a button that's going to be, well, no, let's just do page load. So we're going to do a Directus query get data. We're going to do the SDK, the site SDK. We're going to query cat memes. We're going to get multiple or get all. We could do get multiple by filter, and then we could put in a search filter that's composed of. Well, we'll come back to that another time. It's a bit complicated. But there's a way to compose your search filter to make sure that it works properly. And when we dig into Directus a bit more, if you ever want to dig into it a bit more, I'm happy to, but not today. We can, one of the really cool things about Directus that reminds me a lot of Bubble is, say my cat meme image has a relation with the liked users table. So say there's like a many-to-many relationship, like a user can like a cat meme and a cat meme can have many users who liked it. So I have a field that has a bunch of users in it in each cat meme, and I want to know the first name of each user, so I can say liked by Richard and Jane and whatever. Then you can actually do a search with a nested field that you want. So you can say like search for anything where, or like no, what is it? Fields, sorry, fields. Excuse me, not search. Fields would be liked users dot first name or something like that. Will bring back a list of first names of all of, like a list of objects with the first name field of all the users who are related to this. So it's a really quick and easy way to dig, and you can dig in multiple levels. You could have like liked users dot, and then another relational field in the user table like other liked images, and I want to see like all the images that each person that liked this image likes. Then you could like dig through multiple levels of relations to pull out data. And so it's all handled on server side, means you don't have to download tons of data on the front end, which is a really nice feature. So that's something to dig into another time, but not right now. So let's do, when the page loads, then we're going to run that. I don't know if that might be too fast for the SDK to load up, but we'll find out in a second. And then the results of that are going to pipe into the repeater. So see how that works. One result, meme title, cat meme image. Ah, yeah. So actually we do need to do it because we have a relation. Gosh darn it. So yeah, we're at the moment in our cat meme item. We only have cat lady screaming. Okay, we're going to need to give that a little bit of space at the top and make that, let's make it also like 80% width, centered, and then that should be okay. And then in here we're going to give it a bit more space and give this title a bit of a bigger, there, that'll do. And the image is going to be width 100%, fine, that'll do. That'll do, I think. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, we have an image ID, but it obviously doesn't correspond to an image, does it? So we're going to have to ask for the cat, what was it called? Cat meme image? Cat meme image. Cat meme image dot star if we want. So just I'll show you what that does. So it's going to, in theory, pull nothing. Excellent. That's exactly what I wanted. Cat meme image star. Okay, let's go and see in my other app why that is not working. Cat meme image star. Okay, hold on a second. And I want to get all the videos. Where does that happen? Just give me a sec. No. Has videos dot video ID. Yeah, okay. Let's see. It's a complicated part, but we're gonna succeed. So let's try to get cat meme image dot. Okay, let's go in here and have a look. So we've got our cat meme image. How does that work in the database, in the model? Cat meme image is an image, but it's a relation. So we need to get the relation from that, which would be, yeah, we can't see that though, can we? We can't see the relation. We can't see the relation. But it is related to the files table, this one. So it's just a file. How do we, maybe we have to get the, do we have to get the file? Maybe that's what we have to do, actually get the file. Maybe that's what we have to do. Get files. Yeah, okay, so sorry. It would have worked if it had been a classic relation table field, but it's not, it's kind of a inbuilt relation field. So let's get that specific file. We only need one, and we're going to pipe in the cat meme image ID to the file ID. And then when that loads up, we're going to do the query, and then the image at the end is going to be an object, so we're going to have to pull some data out of it, but let's have a look and see what it does. So we'll refresh the page. All right, so we've got a file, and the file has all of our stuff here. Okay, so what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to compose the file path, I think. So let's have a look and see how that works. When we look at this file, it's got a path. Does it have a public path? File name pointing. There's a way to get the path download, maybe? Yeah, asset slash. No, that's not it. Oh, there's a way to do it. There's a way to do it, and we'll find it. Yeah. Let's ask Mr. GPT. When trying to view a file uploaded to Directus, how does one compose the URL of the file given the object? For example, give it an object and give it HTTP localhost dot, what is it, 8055. Aha, file name, okay. Okay. So slash assets. So you're probably going to want to, you would want to set that up more efficiently than what I'm doing here, but let's just do it really quickly and easily. $8055 slash assets slash file name. So we're going to have to take the file name out. File name disk. So extract out the file name disk, put it into our string formatter. Now we've got a beautiful string that we're going to put into our source, and nothing. Let's have a look and see why not. Nearly there. It is, yeah, actually it does work. So why does that not work in here? Come on, brain. Come on, brain. So it works in the browser. Possibly because I'm logged into the browser. Because I'm logged into the browser. Yeah. So this is another Directus thing. The fact that I'm logged into the browser means I can view the image, but the image is probably not a publicly accessible image. So let's ask Mr. GPT how we do that. The image is only accessible to a logged in user. How can I make it publicly accessible? So this is a cool feature because it means that if you are logged in, you can see the things that you've that you've created, you can see the images and the files that you've created and not other people's files. So that's very cool. Directus admin from settings, edit the public role, set permissions for files. Haha, yes. That's it. Public roles by default. No collections. Yeah, no collections. So what we want to do is go to Directus files and give the public read access to files. You can also use granular custom access and have like specific rules, and they're only allowed to see this in this field or whatever. But let's just stick with all for the moment. So Directus file. So the public is now able to read a Directus file, save that, and now, boom, we got it. Mission successful. So now we can all come here and upload our cat memes and share them with each other. And that was all that I really wanted this whole time. And it's beautiful. So you've seen writing data to Directus, getting data from Directus. You've seen nothing of user authentication and managing permissions and all that kind of stuff. But we've come pretty far there, and we've created probably one of the greatest apps on the internet. So yeah, when I said Noodle could be the next WordPress, I obviously wasn't joking. This is serious business. I hope you've enjoyed that. Hopefully that should get you set up with your basic Directus backend setup on Noodle. And if you want any more information about how to use Directus and Shrey's fantastic prefab, then please do reach out, and don't forget to visit thesavvy.tech to have a look at Shrey's other endeavors, including the boilerplate template and all those kind of things, and reach out if you need help. You know, Shrey's a great developer as well, so don't forget. And I'll see you guys in the next one.